Hey, it's Tom
And Mike.
from Take Time to Travel. Venice is a spectacular city, and the San Marco neighborhood is where you'll spend the most time on your trip. It has the majority of tourist attractions and iconic sites like the Rialto Bridge, St. Mark's Basilica, and Palazzo Ducale or the Doge's Palace.
Today, we're going to take you on a tour of San Marco and show you what there is to do as well as where to eat. So let's get started with the main square called Piazza San Marco, or St. Mark's Square.
The beautiful and historic square is lined with lots of inviting patios stretching off into the distance, although they aren't too busy under the hot summer sun. But after sunset, the patios really start to fill up, and you can even find some live bands playing.
You can also find storefronts around the square selling all kinds of goods, like this one selling Murano glass. These sure are beautiful. Tom wanted to buy one of everything. But since we live out of a couple of suitcases, we just bought this lovely egg-shaped Murano glass piece, which cost 55 euros.
You can also find the Carrere Museum at the far end of Piazza San Marco, as well as the tallest structure in Venice, St. Mark's Campanile Bell Tower at the opposite end. It was originally built in 1156, restored in 1514, and then rebuilt in 1912 after it collapsed.
Just across from St. Mark's Campanile, you can see the ornate domes of St. Mark's Basilica. The church was consecrated in 1094 and is currently being repaired after the 2019 flooding in Venice. Let's head inside and see what this ancient church looks like.
You'll notice magnificent artwork and elaborate columns on your way inside. Right in the front entryway, there's gorgeous golden mosaics covering the ceilings, which makes for quite an impressive start to the tour of the church.
The central area in the basilica has lots of seating for church services underneath the intricate golden mosaic-covered ceiling, consisting of 5 impressive domes. Even the floors of St. Mark's Basilica are incredibly ornate. For 6 euros, it's worth the visit.
But there's more to see around St. Mark's Square. Like just beside the Basilica, there's St. Mark's Clock Tower, which dates back to the last decade of the 15th century. On the other side of this beautiful clock tower and over past St. Mark's Basilica, you'll find some more of Venice's most popular attractions.
There's the Marciana Library in this spectacular building, and across Piazza San Marco, in this other gorgeous building, there's Palazzo Ducale, also known as the Doge's Palace. We bought our tickets to Palazzo Ducale online in advance, which included access to the Carrere Museum.
To start the tour, we entered into the impressive courtyard of the Doge's Palace, at the far end of which you'll notice the magnificent St. Mark's Basilica. You'll also find the Scala dei Giganti staircase flanked by statues of Mars and Neptune.
Continuing our tour of the Doge's Palace, we climbed up the Scala d'Oro, or the Golden Staircase. Love all the intricate details. After walking up another couple flights of stairs, which looked just as gorgeous, we entered into the beautiful Sala delle Quattro Porte, room of the 4 doors, which was undergoing some repairs while we were there.
Next, we entered into this wonderful room, which also had an incredibly ornate ceiling. This area of the palace is called the Sala del Collegio, or the Hall of the College. Love the clock and the artwork adorning the wall. It's right beside the Sala del Senato, or the Senate Chamber, which was breathtaking. After the fire in 1574, the room's ceiling and artwork were redone by 1595.
In the Doge's Palace, there's also the Armory, where you can find these full suits of armor, as well as various weapons that were available to the palace guards. The core of the collection dates all the way back to the 14th century. There was everything from swords and crossbows to shields, spears, maces, axes, and some other assorted weaponry. There was even some artillery on display.
But our favorite room in the palace would have to be the Sala del Maggior Concilio, or the Chamber of the Great Council. The ceiling, like most of the other rooms in the palace, was absolutely incredible. This huge space, surrounded by artwork, was used by the Great Council, the most important political body of Venice from 1172 to 1797.
Another interesting place was the Bridge of Sighs, named because of the sighs of prisoners as they took their last view of freedom as they were passing from the courtroom to their cell in which they served their sentence. I sure wouldn't want to be a prisoner jammed into one of these cells. For such a lovely bridge, the Bridge of Sighs sure does have a dark history. From the main waterfront walkway, Riva degli Schiavoni, you can also get some great perspectives of the Bridge of Sighs.
Continuing along Riva degli Schiavoni, you'll make it back over towards Piazza San Marco, where we'll keep walking in between the Marciana Library and the Doge's Palace, through St. Mark's Square and underneath the arches at the far end, over towards our next destination in San Marco, which is just on the other side, where you can follow the crowds to Venice's luxury shopping area.
Along Salazada San Moise, you can find all the high-end retailers on this narrow and bustling walking street. There's designer labels like Hermes and Saint Laurent, as well as Dior and Omega. Even if you're not shopping at these high-end stores like us, it's still a picturesque street to take a leisurely stroll. But if you are looking for luxury shopping, then this is definitely the best street to do it on.
A little bit further along Salazada San Moise, the street opens up to this quaint square, at the far end of which you'll find this bridge going over the Rio di San Moise Canal. What a perfect spot for a picture.
Over on the other side, Salazada San Moise continues and opens up to a wider walking street with more luxury shops, and the Palace of the Stock Exchange and the Chamber of Commerce, which is located in this gorgeous building. As you keep going, you guessed it, there's more high-end fashion stores like Dolce & Gabbana. And towards the end of the street is Restaurant La Caravella, which also has a bar with some seating out front.
We're going to head to the Italian restaurant's Terrace at the back, which is just through this passageway with a wooden beam ceiling. This secluded patio is covered in lots of greenery and has distinctive yellow tablecloths. Make sure to have a reservation or come early if you want to eat here.
We started with a couple of Aperol spritzes, our favorite Italian drink. Then they brought us a complimentary bread basket. After that, they also brought a complimentary amuse-bouche of mackerel fish for each of us. For the appetizer, we shared the seared scallops with dry martini oyster infusion and clams. I do really love scallops, and these were cooked to perfection and tasted delicious. Then, for my first course, I ordered the fresh double egg yolk tagliolini with scampi, black summer truffle, and cream of pecorino di Fassa cheese. And Tom had the rigatoni of selected Italian grains with rabbit ragu, green beans, Parmesan cheese, and balsamic vinegar of Modena. My pasta dish was the best I've ever had, and Tom really loved his too. For my main dish, I chose the eggplant classic parmigiana with mozzarella mousse and basil sauce, and Tom selected the croaker slice with cream of potatoes, bisque sauce, hazelnuts, and sautéed chicory. Overall, we loved our meal at Restaurant La Caravella. The food, service, and atmosphere were excellent, but let's keep going.
Next, we'll have another delicious meal at the St. Regis's beautiful canal front patio. Let's head inside the back entryway and check this place out. We passed by this lovely looking seating area, and then we made our way outside to the St. Regis's beautiful patio called Gio's Restaurant and Terrace, where we were able to get this perfect table right by the canal. As usual, we made a reservation and came early to make sure that we got a good spot to enjoy these phenomenal views overlooking Venice's largest canal, called the Grand Canal. We could see the Basilica di Santa Maria della Salute across the water, as well as some boat traffic passing by. To drink, we ordered a couple of Peroni Nastro Azzurro beers, which were nice and cold on this hot day. What a perfect place for a beer on this sunny summer day in Venice.
Then, for our appetizer, we shared the burrata from Andrea with whole wheat bread panzanella, cherry tomato concasse, and peppers. For our main course, I chose the Fassona beef burger cooked medium with bacon, Asiago cheese, and caramelized onions, which came with a side of sweet potato fries. Tom had the red and black quinoa bowl with crunchy vegetables, chickpeas cream, and mint. Even though it was pricey, I loved my burger. It was probably the best I've ever had. In Canada, you don't get to choose how your burger is cooked, so it was especially juicy and delicious. Overall, we really liked our meal at St. Regis's Gio's Restaurant and Terrace. All our food was tasty, but the best part was definitely this incredible view overlooking the Grand Canal.
San Marco also has lots of narrow canals that you have to check out during your visit to Venice. We found that this little canal called Rio dell'Alboro was especially picturesque, so of course we had to take a quick selfie.
It was so nice to wander around San Marco's narrow streets and find all these charming canals. There were so many different narrow canals, you could spend hours checking them all out. But let's keep going and check out Venice's most famous canal, the Grand Canal.
The winding waterway is about 3.8 kilometers long and is between 30 to 90 meters wide at various points. The banks are lined with more than 170 buildings, most of which date from the 13th to the 18th century. As you walk beside the canal, along the Riva del Carbone walkway, you can enjoy the beautiful architecture lining the Grand Canal. At one time, these gorgeous centuries-old palazzos were built to display the noble Venetian family's wealth.
Crossing over to the other side of the canal, onto Riva del Vin, you can enjoy some more picturesque views overlooking the Grand Canal and its wonderful architecture, and also find lots of inviting canal-side patios to grab a bite to eat or something to drink.
At night, these waterfront restaurants looked especially appealing, all lit up and filled with happy customers. Continuing to walk alongside the canal, we found this bustling patio which looks so pretty, but after reading the online reviews, I'm glad we kept walking by. You're mostly just paying for the scenery which overlooks the Rialto Bridge.
And this takes us to the next landmark in San Marco, the most famous bridge in Venice, the Rialto Bridge. The major tourist attraction connects the districts of San Marco and San Polo and has been rebuilt several times since its first construction as a pontoon bridge in 1173. The present stone bridge crossing over the Grand Canal was completed in 1591 and was an engineering feat for its time. With a width of 75 feet and a span of over 100 feet, this beautiful icon has stood the test of time. Let's head over and go check it out.
Heading up the promenade leading to the Rialto Bridge, you'll find lots of vendors selling all kinds of touristy goods and souvenirs. Walking up the stairs, you'll also find many shops and stores along both sides of the bridge. But the main reason that everyone comes up here is for the view. From up on the Rialto Bridge, you can get spectacular vistas overlooking the Grand Canal. I think this might be one of our favorite perspectives in all of Venice.
But if you cross over to the other side of the bustling bridge, you can also find some great views overlooking the other side of the canal. There sure are a lot of people taking gondola rides down there.
Which brings us to our next thing to do in San Marco, taking a scenic gondola ride. This was one of our fondest memories of our entire trip to Venice. It was so nice seeing the major attractions from the water as our gondolier paddled us along, especially cruising through the picturesque Grand Canal and underneath the Rialto Bridge, as well as going under the famous Bridge of Sighs. Well, to be honest, passing beneath the little bridges were pretty spectacular too. Even being paddled along through the narrow canals was breathtaking. Although sometimes we ran into a little bit of heavy gondola traffic.
If you want to see some more of the gondola tour through the canals, then make sure to check out our video on it, which we'll put a link for in the description section down below.
Alongside San Marco's narrow canals, you can walk down the narrow streets and check out some of the interesting looking shops, like these ones here, selling fancy looking masks. Some of the narrow streets also lead out into attractive open squares, like this quaint little square called Campo Santa Maria Zobenigo, which is surrounded by shops, restaurants, hotels, as well as a spectacular looking church called Chiesa di Santa Maria del Giglio, which was completed in 1681 and has one of the finest Venetian Baroque facades in all of Venice.
Just a short walk from there, you can also find this much larger square called Campo Santo Stefano, which also has a couple of churches, as well as lots of beautiful looking patios. But we're going to check out another one of San Marco's many patios for dinner.
We decided to try the Michelin recommended Bistrot de Venise, which serves updated traditional Venetian dishes and has a lovely side terrace. To start, we had their natural water, which came in one of these handcrafted Murano glass bottles. Then they brought us a complimentary plate of assorted breads with olive oil.
Also to drink, we ordered a couple of their Bistrot de Venise spritzes, which came with a nice garnish on top. Next, they served us each a complimentary marinated salmon amuse-bouche, which had a lovely presentation. For our appetizer, we shared the amberjack tartare with seaweed pesto, sweet and sour radishes, and crispy flax chips, which they split into 2 portions for us, both of which looked and tasted amazing. Afterwards, for the pasta dish, I chose the cannelloni alla torsellana, which was house cannelloni au gratin stuffed with crustaceans, fish, and mollusks, bisque, and sautéed vegetable brunoise. And Tom had the ravioli de herbe, which was handmade ravioli stuffed with sweet cheese, smoked ricotta cheese, herbs, and raw sugar wafer. The cannelloni tasted absolutely incredible. I still dream about it. Tom loved his as well. Then, for our second dish, we shared the ombrina in sapor de fior de persico, which is a croaker fish fillet in an almond crust, with saffron fish stock, macerated peach, white peach coulis, and basil. They also split this onto 2 plates for us and tasted phenomenal.
After that, they brought us out some complimentary petit fours, which were also very tasty. Overall, we loved our meal, everything tasted exceptional, and we would definitely come back again. Then for dessert, we took a short walk over to get some gelato at Gelato Fantasy. They had all kinds of delicious looking handmade gelato flavors to choose from, including Snickers, tiramisu, cookies and cream, salted caramel, and even Kinder Bueno or cheesecake.
But I kept it simple and just got the melone or melon gelato in a cup. And Tom ended up getting the same thing too, a regular size cup of melon gelato. What a perfect way to end the night.
Another place that has delicious gelato in San Marco is Gelatoteca Suso. This popular gelateria always has a lineup, and it also has a great selection of mouth-watering flavors to choose from, including gluten-free, lactose-free, and there's even vegan options available. Mike chose a couple scoops each of mango and watermelon gelato, and I had all 4 scoops of fruity de bosco or mixed berries gelato.
Well, hopefully this travel guide gave you some great ideas on what to do and where to eat on your trip to San Marco, Venice.
If it did, we'd really appreciate it if you'd like, subscribe, and hit the bell for notifications on our future videos. It would really help us out and help our channel to grow.
And remember, take time to travel. Catch you on the next one.